So if you're watching this, that's because the Whipple Warriors just got our 1,000th member, and that's pretty cool. I usually put up balloons and everything, but for this 1,000th member, since it's a milestone for us, I thought I'd make a little video and give you guys kind of a status update and stuff that's going on with the Whipple Warriors that you may not be aware of. I'd like to welcome all the new members and tell you that you're not alone anymore. You have us. We've been there. We've been down this path without much help, a lot of us, and that's why we're here to change that and make sure that never happens again. We like to say no one should ever go through this alone, and we mean it. So when I'm talking about we, who is we? We is all the Whipple Warriors, whether you're a patient or a loved one of a Whipple Warrior. Anytime anybody gets a Whipple, it affects not only the patient, but every single person who knows that patient and loves that patient. So therefore we call every single one of us Whipple Warriors. And once the Whipple's touched your life and you've had to deal with it in one way or another, you are a Whipple Warrior. So welcome to a team you might not have asked to be on, but you're in it. So at least you won't be alone. The Whipple Warrior Organization is a soon-to-be, hopefully, nonprofit as soon as I get the letter from the IRS. I can't believe I'm excited about getting a letter from the IRS. That's a first. So anyway, the organization will be a nonprofit. It's will be a 501c3, hopefully. And the people that are in that on board members is a couple of Whipple Warriors, actually. There's some other people. But Michelle Toth and Jasmine Bayer. We've all become very good friends, and we've gotten to know each other very well. We laugh, we get along well, we compliment each other. Jasmine's the techie guru. I'm sort of the one who kind of ping-pongs, and my ADD comes in handy. And Michelle's the steady one who brings that to us, and we all kind of go off on different ways, and one hand compliments the other. And while I'm off chasing something this way, Michelle or Jasmine are off doing this, and Michelle and Jasmine came up with the website, which is just, it rocks. And if you haven't visited, it's www.whipplewarriors.org. So check that out. If you know anybody who doesn't use Facebook, have them go on there. Everything that we talk about, we're referring back to it now, because all of the documents, all of our links, everything is on that site. So that site is a wealth of information for everybody. So with Jasmine and Michelle and I, we're like the three musketeers, and we are kind of just plodding through this together, and I happen to think we've done a pretty good job so far. We also have the administrators and people who are helping on the page, because if Jasmine, Michelle, or I aren't there at some time during the day and there's another person wanting to become a member, we have these people who can welcome new members throughout the day. It's a good way to do it, because when you need information, you want it right away, and we know how that feels. So a lot of people are doing that, and thank you so much. You guys are helping to make a difference for the people too. So thanks so much. Some things I wanted to go over about this milestone is that it's a happy and sad occasion. I'm really happy that we're there to help people, because no one was there when I went through this. I know a lot of you are in the same boat as I was, and I'm happy that we're there, yet I'm sad that the diseases that led us to have the Whipple have actually had to happen. The most common one that leads to the Whipple is pancreatic cancer, of course. There's also a few other ones, Franz tumors, ampullary cancer, just all kinds of different cancers that lead to the Whipple. And this page is about the Whipple specifically. I know a lot of people talk about chemo and how they feel and everything else, and that's great, because if the Whipple Warriors is your safety net, and you develop friendships and whatever on this page, and that's fine. But the page is primarily to help people with the Whipple, the effects of the Whipple, because I don't understand why it's considered the granddaddy of all surgeries, yet it's the one that with the least support. We go through this huge surgery. There's support for people who have transplants and heart surgeries and all that, but for some reason the Whipple surgery, which gets respect from every single doctor I've ever met or talked to, doesn't have the support, and it should, and we're all making that happen, you guys, all of us. and we're going to be there for Whipple patients in the future as well. So let me put my glasses on. I can't believe I have progressives now. That's what being 40 does. Okay, a little older than 40, but not much. So I wanted to rehash how far we've come. Oh, by the way, that's my mom and dad over my shoulder, this shoulder right there. And that's my dad. He was a physician, and he was a surgeon, and he was awesome. And my mom was a nurse, so they're the ones who kind of instilled in me to go after this medical stuff and change it. If I don't like the way something is, they said, then change it. So that's what we're doing. How did the Whipple Warriors come about? For those of you that haven't heard, our group has grown so big, and I used to say this all the time, but I just stopped kind of rehashing it. I say it sometimes, but not all the times. For those of you that don't know, this is my personal story. It's just what happened to me, and whether you're religious or not, this is exactly what happened and how it came about. When I had my Whipple, I knew that I was a blessed person to have had the Whipple. And I knew that God was giving me a second chance. So with second chances, in my opinion, comes responsibilities. So what do you want me to do with my second chance? Am I just going to sit there and go on my life and do nothing? Or am I here for a purpose? So I kept bugging God over and over and over about what he wanted me to do. Long story short, he put off not telling me what to do till May of 2011. And my dad would have passed on from prostate cancer. My mom was in a nursing home for Alzheimer's at that point. And so things, God knows the plan, and he knew that things would get rough for me. And so he gave this to me when he knew I could handle it. And in church one day, I know exactly the pew I was in and what I was, praying about. And he said to me, and I didn't hear him because I'm not that crazy, but he said to me in my heart to start a Facebook page, make a website, and write a book for Whipple patients, because there's nothing out there. So the first thing that freaked me out was not only hearing that loud and clear in my heart, but also the fact that God knows there's a Facebook, so be careful what you post. And kind of cracked me up, actually. So that's how the idea came around, and that's why I think it's taken off, because it never really was mine to begin with. It was his, and it had a life of its own from the get-go. And he knew what would happen with this whole thing, and when, by the end of this conversation, you'll know what's going to happen too. And it's pretty cool. Things are going to change permanently with all of us, with all of you participating as well. We're going to change stuff for future Whipple patients. So I want to remind all of you that although the Whipple surgery is horrible, and it's probably the worst thing I've ever had to get through, and I know you guys can probably say that too, whether the patient or the loved one, but believe it or not, we're the blessed ones. We're the 15% who actually were blessed enough to qualify for the Whipple. Some days, you have really, really hard days, and I know I feel really down and discouraged when I have my post-Whipple attacks. Sometimes I get these post-Whipple attack, pain, and it leaves me in tears because it hurts so bad, but I'm here to enjoy my family, to see sunsets, to laugh. I try to laugh every single day, and okay, I probably do laugh every day, but you got to just grab life when you can, and even though you're having a really rough time, or your loved one's having a rough time, might not know what to say or do to help them, just remind them that it's a bear, but they're lucky they're here. And sometimes might not even feel that they're lucky at that particular moment, but after it passes, or the nausea goes away, or whatever they're going through goes away, they are here. So I also want to take a minute to talk about the Whipple Warriors who have gone on to heaven, and that's where I believe they are. So there's a lot of them now, but that's not said to scare you guys. That's just said because it's the nature of the beast. That doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Actually, if you put statistically how many warriors we have versus how many have actually passed away, it's pretty small amount statistically of how many we've lost, which is really good. But the people who went ahead of us, there's a lot of them that were very dear to me, and it was really hard, and that's how come I almost quit at first a few times, because it was just too much emotionally to handle, along with me not feeling good. But one of the guys who I have to bring up is Steven Weinberg, and Steven and I were very good friends. I'm laughing now because he just cracked me up all the time, and he had stage 4, and he lasted like really long, a lot longer than he should have. And I think it's because he's just had an attitude like, this thing is not going to beat me. And that's one of the reasons I tell you guys, when a doctor gives you a specific time that you have left, that's ridiculous. You know, my dad was a surgeon, and he'd tell patients, how long do I have, doc? He's like, I don't know. I know a lot of doctors think they're God, but they're not really God. And so they don't know. So he never told his patients how long. He's like, just live your life. And heck, you could get hit by a Mack truck, coming out of Home Depot, which actually happened to me about 6 weeks after surgery. But I dodged the Mack truck, so I'm here. Stephen Weiberg had told me that to be here for the living, and that I would cry when he died, which I did, but to dig it out and just stay here for the living, and that's what I have chosen to do on some of the most difficult days. But gosh, you guys make it a lot easier on me, and I know that you've seen me go on the page and complain about some stuff that's happening with me and physically and stuff, and you guys have been there to support me, and that's what this is all about. So thank you for that. We're now for the Whipple Warriors, and I have 4 things on my plate here to tell you about. The first is research. After figuring out, and you guys know this firsthand, that none of your doctors know what the heck to do with a Whipple patient. So I sat there and I contacted all kinds of doctors, and got a call like on a Saturday from some doctor, University of Berkeley, California, and he told me there are only like 4 or 5 doctors in the country that would think he'd be interested to research the long-term effects for the Whipple patients. So contacted all of them. Long story short, we got lucky. Dr. Nupin Merchant from Vanderbilt has checked it out, and he wrote me a letter a few weeks ago that said that we are correct. There is nothing in medical literature for the long-term care of a post-Whipple patient. So that's going to change, because he said that he would be happy, if we're agreeable, to check out the Whipple Warriors and what our problems are and what our issues are, and these post-Whipple attacks, and becoming a diabetic, and low iron, and needing iron infusions, and the dumping syndrome that's continued. And it's not just like a lot of our surgeons and doctors said, oh, go live your normal life. It doesn't happen that way. So finally they're listening to us, and pretty soon either Jasmine or Michelle will be putting up the link to volunteer for that. And please volunteer for that. And if you talk to any other Whipple Warriors, have them volunteer. Of course, we need a lot of numbers to make up a study. So look for that to be posted in the near future. With research, we're going to be able to hopefully, change things for future Whipple Warriors. Another subject would be the Creon I want to talk about. I was talking to the Abbott Lab people about the Creon, and I actually took some of your postings and copied and pasted. Of course, I omitted your names, so don't freak out on me. But I showed them how we have questions almost daily about enzymes, and do we need replacements, and how do you know you need an enzyme, and should you take them for a short time? I mean, at least with my experience with Creon, and I'm a nurse, nobody told me exactly what it's for, how much water do you take with it, how many do you take. If you're at a wedding, you take one at the beginning. 4 hours later, your stomach's supposed to be empty, and they're just serving the cake. Do you need to take another one? I mean, these are the specific questions I had for them. So after going around and around with them, they're going to be flying me up there in October to talk to their national sales meeting. And I will be speaking as a patient who uses Creon, as a nurse, and also as the founder of the Whipple Warriors, to tell them about our issues. And you guys, that's why I put on the page, to let me know what your questions are. I'm printing those things out, and I'm going to bring them. And hopefully after some discussions, I'll come back with some answers for you. I know a lot of you are concerned about things like, cost and all that. And I will be opening their eyes to our lives a little bit, people. So hang in there with that. The other thing would be medical research. Now, this is for pancreatic cancer. And we have a young whiz kid on our page called Jack Andraka. And Jack is this 16-year-old whiz kid that for a high school biology project, he formulated a dipstick for urine to detect early pancreatic cancer in urine. And I'm thinking, when I was 16, I was worried if my, neon socks match my neon, curly thing in my hair. I mean, I just can't imagine being 16 and doing this. The kid is incredible. So, along with John Payne, who is a member of our page, and he lost his mom, but one of his promises to his mother was that he would hunt this down and he would try and find early detection and or a cure for pancreatic cancer. So John is on it with me, and John and Jack have developed a really good communication, and so we're trying to get him together to use the Whipple Warriors as one of the first test groups for this dipstick. And the theory being that I want to tell Jack, if you're listening, Jack, please listen, is that if we have patients that we already know are positive for adenocarcinoma and they've had a Whipple, they have a possibility of recurrence. So what better population to use that early detection on than a Whipple Warrior who's already had it? Because then we can catch the reoccurrence like really fast, get them on chemo, and hopefully make this almost like a chronic type problem, or at least lengthen the lifespan even more than ever has been possible before. So that's just one of the things that we're working on, and John and I are working pretty close trying to track Jack down, but he's busy talking to Parliament and Congress and hanging out with Obama and stuff. So yeah, I think I'm pretty low on his list, but Jack, if you're listening, put me up there. I want to talk to you. So the other thing is the nonprofit. What are we going to do with the nonprofit? What's the point of doing a nonprofit for the Whipple Warriors? So one of the things that we wanted to do with the nonprofit is raise funds. Okay, what are the funds for? We're going to be making brochures available to all of you, making flyers available, whatever we can do to help get the word out and awareness of what the Whipple patient needs. My idea would be that this flyer be given to you guys, and you take them to all your doctors. You take them to your GI, you take them to your surgeon, you take them to your nutritionalist, you take them, to whatever doctor you need to go to, your endocrinologist, if I already said that. You take them to all the doctors that you need, because they need to know, number one, that we exist, and number two, that we have problems that have not been addressed. And they can find out what the issues are if they would just take a minute to go on our website, because we have the frequently asked questions and all that kind of stuff, and they can figure it out, and that they can figure out that it's not just go on and have a normal life. The other thing I want to do with the nonprofit is that because we're growing so big, and because there's a lot of people in maybe within a couple hours of each other, at least in this country, and in the other countries I think they're starting to be too, we're trying to get like local support groups started. That's a big mission to undertake, because we have to have, it's like making McDonald's French fries from one place to another place to another place. You all have to have the same policies and procedures and stuff, because if it has our name on it, it has to be of a certain quality, and for the meetings, and that you don't go off and try some crazy stuff and say it was us who told you to do that. So it's a big thing, but that's ultimately what we're going to try to do is increase the support groups out there and on the local level. And if you get an opportunity to meet a Whipple Warrior, please take it. It's really cool because we've shared the raw feelings that we've all gone through. We've shared really personal details of what we've go through. And so it's not like meeting a stranger like in line at the grocery store and just having a superficial conversation. When you meet someone, it's like you really know who they are deep inside, because you know their fears, you know what they've been through, you know this fight and this battle it's been. So it's really cool when you meet a Whipple Warrior. It's almost like you know them already, and it just takes a minute to get that weird, initial, hey, how are you thing. And then it's like, honestly, it's like meeting family. So if you get an opportunity to get together with another Whipple Warrior for lunch or something, go for it. It's really instant family, and it's nice to have that support. So I think I've kind of covered everything I wanted to, and just to let you guys know that we need to keep up the support for each other, and we also need to know that with your volunteering for studies that might be coming down the pipe, and jump up there and give us your name and number or whatever contact information you can. We're going to change things for Whipple Warriors for the future, and hopefully for now as well too. So I'll get back to you on the crayon stuff and keep you in touch. And I wanted to again thank Jasmine and Michelle, and the three of us we work pretty good together for you guys. So even though we might not be on the page every day, trust me, we're working for you every day. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. So with that, I'm going to say good night to you guys, and thanks for listening. Bye.